So, if a very powerful kid tells you he's hungry and you're on a dark, spooky train, make sure you feed him, as that could save your life. Hello everyone and welcome to the Anime Zelia, and thank you for joining me as we talk about chapter 153 to 171, covering the Hoaqin, the Wooden Horse, and the Month's Arc from the Tower of God webtoon series. Now, before I start this video, I do need to just express that when I pronounce the name Hoaqin, I feel like I'm saying it correctly. However, that is what translators told me, so that's what I'm going with. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section down below and point me to somewhere where I can listen to the real pronunciation to it, or just try and help me out. Anyway, these were some very interesting chapters that introduces us to a lot of cool and interesting new faces and shares some light onto the characters of Hoaqin, Daniel, and Rowan, while giving us some more development for characters that are just involved in the storyline in general, while showcasing some excellent fights that were spread out throughout these arcs. So I want to start with the character of Hoaqin. I really think this character is insane, both from his actions to his mentality display. At first, he came across as a bit childish and slightly immature, yet a very serious and sinister character with a goal of rulership. This character gave off a vibe of someone with a god or superiority complex, making me personally feel more and more uneasy as I read each chapter moving forward. Especially when he brutalized Wang Lan's hand. This character was really unnerving, and you know what? I quite enjoyed the introduction of the character itself because Hoaqin is a good character. Not the best, but he is a fantastic character nevertheless. Like I said, we see him doing some crazy actions like brutalizing Wang Lan's hand/arm and seeing how easily he was able to handle Bam. Granted, Bam at that point was in a very weakened state, so he was not at his full strength. I'm still surprised even now, learning that he can still get even stronger, because it turns out that he was divided into 5 separate souls, each one with their own different personalities, but they're all kind of mostly in a shared agreement that it's only natural for Hoaqin to remain the core centerpiece, because that's how it's always been in the past. So when Hoaqin finds his other pieces, he's going to remain the main core. So, yeah, the personality that we know now is going to slightly alter and slightly change as he takes on these new pieces and new souls that he's missing, but at the same time, we're still going to have this insane, crazy character doing more crazy, insane things, but with more power and more kind of knowledge and self-awareness. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. Now, when we're looking at Hoaqin's actions and whether or not they're realistic, I think the fact that he's missing pieces of himself makes him a little bit more so, as the display of impatience and immaturity that we see in the early stages of these arcs with this character, I think just basically sets up the fact that she is different than the flashbacks that we see from the veteran train goers. So this whole idea of him being split and him gaining the other parts again, becoming whole, becoming complete, becoming like the character that the characters of Mr. Boro and A.K.A. Williams, Daniel, and Sashi the Faker all remember, is going along a really kind of simplistic yet effective line of storytelling. Because we have these different parts of Hoaqin's soul that once they come back to him, he'll become more and more mature. He'll lose that immaturity. He will maybe not lose it altogether, but he will also lose the impatience, and he'll gain different attributes and different kind of abilities, different ways of thinking, different information, and different kind of thoughts to process. I'd imagine that once he takes in another soul, then he will take on the attributes and traits of that soul, thus adding it onto himself, making him more of a complete, more of a perfect being. That's just how I kind of interpret it. I could be wrong, but it goes along with A, what the story has kind of set things up to be like, and B, it goes along just like the general trope within any sort of manga or anime or comic, in where someone absorbs somebody else and they gain what they've absorbed. So yeah, I think we are going to get Hoaqin kind of absorbing the other 5 cells, becoming more and more like the flashbacks that we see him in, where he's a lot more he's a lot more sinister, he's a lot more imposing. People want to follow him because of his madness, because of his craziness, which he already is kind of crazy and kind of mad, and again, immature and impatient. But I still think we have a lot to uncover and a lot to learn, a lot to involve and develop with this character. Overall, I think this character does have potential. He clearly has goals and dreams, and it's very interesting with a unique design, enjoyable skills, and yet he still has an air of mystery about him that keeps me intrigued. Plus, he seems to have taken a bit of a liking to Rachel and Emily, with the fact that Rachel with Emily, the app on the phone, she can be useful and give him information that is better than the markings on Daniel's body, which we know that Daniel's body is showing correct markings, but he himself is conflicted about what's going on, but I'll talk about that in just a minute. However, one thing that really makes me laugh is Rachel seems to believe that she can somehow use/control Hoaqin. I don't know how to tell Rachel, but that is not going to work out. It's going to go wrong in the future. Trust me. Now then, we do get to see 2 of Hoaqin's missing pieces from this arc. Anna, a very young girl that has a really good design, one that I personally like. Then we go to Viscante, who is a young boy who decides that he wants to become the main core. So to that end, he teams up with Wangnang, Rax and Eon, and displays the personality traits of calmness, politeness, able to think with a level head, and is also quite forgiving. Yes, we see him forgive Wangnang for lying to himself, and I quite like this. This was a different take on the same type of character. Yes, all these individual pieces have their own personality, but at this moment in time, we all think they're part of one character. So it added a bit more freshness to the chapter itself. Now, there's one thing that I want to go over. With the fact that this character forgave Wangnang, I think is something that's obviously going to affect Hoaqin in the future. Because as we see, Hoaqin does not feel like the forgiving character. He does not look like that. But if when he absorbs all the other missing pieces, family members, souls, whatever you want to call them, then maybe, again, like I said earlier, he might absorb their traits and their personalities and everything that comes with them. So he will gain a bit more compassion, a bit more kind of forgiveness for other people, especially those on his team. Now then, one fear I do have is Viscante getting absorbed and changing Hoaqin to an extreme level. Now, it's obvious that Viscante will be absorbed by Hoaqin. That is just how the story is just going to go, because it will build more tension and it will make Hoaqin be a lot stronger and a lot more threatening. So, one thing I do not want to see happen is Wangnang changing Viscante's personality to being more friendly and friendship and lovey-dovey and all that malarkey, and then Hoaqin absorbing Viscante, then changing Hoaqin's character to be one that's like, oh, you're all my friends, you're Wangnang, my buddy, or, you know, having Viscante attack Hoaqin from inside with the power of friendship because he's trying to retaliate and break himself free. I don't want to see that, because honestly, after all, I want to see a clean one-on-one fight between Hoaqin and Bam, where there is no assistance, and it avoids a situation where Bam only won because of interferences or circumstances. Because these two arcs have been building up a Slayer nominee versus Slayer nominee fight. And Bam's been developing throughout this arcs and trying to find himself throughout these arcs. And I think that if he has help beating this strong, overpowered obstacle, I think that would dampen the development stage of Bam just a little bit. So now, one thing I thought was a brilliant implementation from a story point of view was getting to meet Bam's teacher again, as not only was this a fun segment, but it also helped build up that tension of feeling and dread within us, the reader, as we know how powerful and strong Bam's teacher really is. And we're not only shown this, but we're told this many different times. And back in his prime, this character would kill off members of the 10 great households. And then he stated something that made alarm bells ring in my head. He stated that if Thug, aka Team Rachel, were trying to revive who he thought they were on the Hell Train, then Bam, as strong as Bam is, would never be able to stand a chance against him. Even the character himself, the teacher, would struggle against him. There was another thing I thought was very interesting in this character's dialogue, and that was the mention of Hung Sung Yu. We haven't heard that name anywhere within the last few arcs, and I really do appreciate the fact they bring up that character again, because I am of the belief that he's going to appear on the Hell Train at some point. I think he has to. He just has to. He's been missing from this series for so long, and yet we know next to nothing about his plans or what he's planning to do, and I can just see it happening right now. So all in all, a very fun segment where we get to see Coon, Rax and Bam try to get away from him, which I thought that was very creative in of itself, because we know they'll never be able to beat him, especially because Bam's in a weakened state, Coon and Rax are not really going to be a match physically against him. But yeah, awesome. A real clever way of reintroducing a character that I was not expecting to see for quite some time. Now, another character I want to talk about from this segment was Coon's character himself. Coon at first came across as very hostile, very not friendly towards the main cast. Even, I think it's Caparuptor, is that his name? The tinfoil turtle. Even he mentioned that Coon is being more of an actual jerk than what he's used to being like. And Coon is just kind of, he's worried about his friends. And he doesn't really know how to kind of convey his true feelings across when being worried. He knows that Bam is growing at a very fast pace and they're not going to be able to keep up with it. Bam's body can't keep up with it, and that's why he keeps collapsing. So Coon is struggling to find a way to minimize the growth of Bam's character so that the needle itself doesn't start possessing him or destroying him from within from having too much power. And I like this because throughout this entire ordeal of arcs, Coon is quite reserved. He's quite calm, relaxed. He's very open to whatever the guide tries to get Bam to do, because he's always got that feeling in his mind that yes, Bam is becoming too strong too quickly and his body can't keep up, but he's also thinking that Hoaqin, I don't think that's pronounced correctly, but the guide would never make Bam kind of crash and burn. She wants what's best for Bam because that would then help Thug, so he's kind of being reserved with that. He's letting her take the reins in Bam's growth, which I thought that was quite good. And again, Coon's character here just kind of came across being a bit confused. He wasn't quite sure of what to do because he's never really been into a situation. That's how I interpret it anyway. I could be wrong. If you think differently, then of course, let me know in the comments. Now then, let's talk about Bam's character in this chapter, because these chapters were real eye-openers for him as a character, being told that because of him and that selfish greed to go after Rachel, that's what led his friends being captured and their lives put at risk. To me, this was brilliant, and the fact it came from the guide, I thought made this whole scene with this more impactful, as this character is one that Bam will genuinely listen to, and it's clear to us as the readers from that perspective that there's a level of respect and trust towards her from Bam's character. And one key detail that they kept in that I thought was amazing and was quite strong in this segment was the reactions from the other characters around him, especially Coon and any other of Bam's long-time friends. They did not pipe up and deny or question anything that was being said. Yes, these words were harsh to Bam's character, but none of his friends said anything. They kept quiet because they knew it was true. And then that in turn made Bam go, oh, well, I trust this character already who is saying these things to me, and my friends aren't arguing any of the points being made against me. So there must be some truth behind what is being said. Maybe I should start taking responsibility for my actions and think more about other people around me. And I really do like that because it not only makes Bam understand and realize the errors in his ways and his actions, but it also helps him come to a conclusion himself in his own mind. And that is the best type of development. When you can say something to someone and then they make up their mind, or they kind of interpret it or perceive it in a certain way, and it's the correct way, then that shows the mentality state of the character that you're talking to, or the person you're talking to, and just shows that they can overcome what they need to overcome. In Bam's case, it's his irresponsibility and his mistreating of his friends and those around him. Now, these arcs do scream out self-discovery from Bam's character. It's a developmental phase. He just has to understand and find what he wants to do in life, and not follow orders or be implemented by other people, or influenced, I should say, by other people in terms of what his actions are guided like. Rachel seems like this iron bull weighing Bam down, making him chase after her because of the way he feels towards her and the respect that he has for her. And Thug seem like this force that is inescapable. They somehow manage to pull Bam back into their actions, no matter how far he tries to run away. So yes, he needs to look within himself. He needs to find what he truly wants, and that in turn will grant him some level of freedom within the tower. The chat with his inner power was very intriguing, as it helped further the development stage for Bam's character in edging him closer to revealing what Bam's true desires really are. I like the fact he didn't accept this overwhelming power to crush anyone that tried to bully him or put him in his place, as this power to make anyone submit really does not fit in line with Bam's kind-hearted nature. Yet we're told time and time again that Bam's kind-hearted nature is what's making him weak. He needs to learn the intent to kill. He needs to be able to do that. He needs to gain that kind of nature and understanding that it's okay if people are in your way, you have to put them down. No matter how strong they are, you have to keep holding on to what's important to you. If your friends are important, but someone is in your way and stopping you from getting to your friends, you have to kill them. Well, or break their legs so they can't come after you anymore. Whichever works. It's because of this weakness, because he doesn't have the intent to kill, that he will never be able to beat the likes of Hoaqin. So yeah, all in all, this was fantastic for Bam's character, because I do know that there's going to be a battle between Team Bam and Team Hoaqin. That's going to happen for the next few arcs. We know this from what the train conductor said. He's going to make a Slayer nominee versus Slayer nominee battle. That already sounds intriguing and interesting in of itself. But I like the fact that we go to this rice pot developmental stage where Bam is looking inside of himself and is trying to improve. He's trying to learn that. And once he learns what he needs to, he will be a lot stronger. He will be a lot more powerful. And I want to see what that development is that Bam underwent in the rice pot, as well as the fact I want to see Bam return to the rice pot for more training afterwards. Because one interesting plot thread that was mentioned and went a bit unexplained was the members of the 10 great households used to train in that pot when they're on the Hell's Train. So we know that Bam is not on the same level as, say, the high-ranking members of the 10 great households. I don't think he is, at least, anyway. So the fact that he could go back there and train there, I think, is something that he needs to do. Because not only can he self-discover, but he can edge closer to being one of the strongest characters within the series. So yeah, and we know that his training there is not complete. We learned that from dialogue, and I want to see it. So yeah, hopefully, please, let's go back there. Maybe. Anyway, let's move on. We get more build-up between the older generation of train riders. That, of course, consisting of Mr. Boro, aka Williams, Sashi Faker, and Daniel. These characters have been instrumental in this arc at the moment, and learning more and more about them has been really fascinating. Especially when we learn the reason as to why they've been travelling on the Hell's Train, and so many times after their first experience. They're looking for the soul of their friend Rowan. After all, she sacrificed her life, splitting the soul of Hoaqin's into 5 separate pieces and sealing him away throughout the train at that cost of her life. Seeing Daniel and his feelings towards Rowan, and the fact that he loves her and the fact that he was so kind and caring towards her and he wants to bring her back, felt more realistic. It felt a lot more powerful when looking at what he's willing to do and what he's willing to go through. One line from Coon's character that really matched up to something that Daniel's been doing that I thought was fantastic, and hopefully not foreshadowment, because I don't want Bam to die again. But when Coon was talking to the red-headed guide, he said that he's trusting her, but he'll never forgive himself if his trust is misplaced. If it is, he'll do anything to bring Bam back, even if it means working with the devil. Hold on a minute. Daniel is trying to bring back his friend, who he'll do anything to bring back, including work with a devil known as Hoaqin. So yeah, that I really did like. I thought that was brilliant. There are a few similarities between Daniel and Bam's character, both trying to chase after someone they have deep and a good connection with. Rowan obviously being for Daniel, Rachel being for Bam. But both are obviously doing 2 drastically different approaches, and obviously are going to have different results. But all in all, I think the reveal that the other members keep going on the train to search for her as well, even after the events that happened, I thought that was just great in of itself, because it gives more substance to the characters that are travelling with our main characters and our cast at the moment. Because we already know they've got good techniques and they've got good actions, but I do think we have to get a group matchup between Mr. Boro, A.K. Williams, and Sashi Faker versus Daniel and Rachel's team members. Now, when it comes to giving out information, going back to Daniel's character, I like the fact that he's becoming more and more untrustworthy on Team Hoaqin's side, because he's starting to understand that Hoaqin isn't actually going to make good on his promise, as he stated. There's that air of like willy or won't he in the atmosphere. So he's going over to the other part of Hoaqin, Viscante, that's his name, and saying, look, I'll make a deal with you guys. I'll tell you where the others are, and you have to go and get them before he does. But if I tell you, you have to promise me that you'll help me bring back the person that I want to bring back. Now, my first thoughts is that, yes, Rowan is going to come back, but not as Daniel wants. Not as any of her former friends want. She's going to come back as like another version of Hoaqin, in the form of maybe someone slightly evil and slightly more sinister, more corrupt because of the atmospheric of the Hell Train. But I guess I'll have to wait and see. That's just my brain speculating and going to Creativeville. So this is something that I almost missed. It's a bit of dialogue that came from Rachel's teammate to Eon, where she stated, by any chance, do you know how many children are born out of wedlock from the 10 families by raping women in the middle area? Now, my first thought when I read this line was, ooh, is this referring to characters like Hyoyang and Casion, where they're children that are wandering around without any parents in harsh environments in that sort of area, until people at the workshop battle picked them up and started experimenting on them. Now that is where my mind went. I can't remember if that was the middle area though, so I could be wrong on that, but I just love this line because it adds more of a darker layer and feel to the 10 families. And it keeps building and building and building on just how bad these 10 great households actually are and how little people from the lower end of the 10 great families and the public know about them. So yeah, I thought I'd add this in. I thought it was awesome. Let's go back to the normal video. So with Yuri now entering the Hell Train in kind of underwhelming fashion, as I was expecting a bit more of a wardrobe / disguise change so that she can sneak onto the train without being seen or found out. Instead, she just goes straight to the overseer of the train and saying, look, the king sent me to search for an irregular, let me go and find him. Do you know where he is? And I loved her reaction to seeing Bam still alive. Plus that entrance of Bam and his team like coming in from the roof was awesome. But yeah, I liked her reactions because I read one chapter afterwards where she's like, oh look, can you see me? Do you think you can hear me if I shout? And it's like, princess, that's a scream. And that did make me laugh a bit. I liked that. And I loved her reaction when the overseer of the train said, that boy there is not who you think. He is the Ole von Gracis, or whatever the whole name is, and said he is Fog's Slayer nominee. And then her reaction was just, it was awesome. I loved that. And then I want to see, after all is said and done, a conversation between Bam and Yuri. That has to happen because she needs to be put on the right path and needs to be explained. So yeah, hopefully so. But nevertheless, I like the fact that we get introduced to the head of the train and he's being this kind of menacing, sinister yet mysterious type of character that's trying to put Slayer nominee versus Slayer nominee so that they can prive the thorn away from Bam's cold body. Obviously Bam would have to die, but that's what they're expecting to happen. And they're possibly trying to get Hoaqin under their thumb so that they can become stronger. I can't remember the other guy's name. You remember the Slayer nominee that Bam's teacher went to visit back in one of the epilogues? It's that one. I'm really sorry I can't remember his name. There will be a picture up on the screen somewhere. Sorry. Overall though, I thought these were some very interesting chapters with a good amount of focus on both Bam and Hoaqin's character and giving other characters time to shine as well. But just imagine if the story ended because Team Rachel could not do mathematics. Yes, there was a test in the train in where they had to rearrange numbers, and if they got 3 wrong, then it would be game over. So they might not even have got to Hoaqin if the guide wasn't with them. So I thought that was quite ironic and quite funny. But yeah, I did like that. The art style was fantastic. The information that was given was quite a lot. There were some really good new designs for characters. Plus, the chapters flowed rather inconsistently. Some felt really long to read and dragged on forever, while others felt really quick and moved quite quickly. We did have one character in particular that was talking about her race and how she was climbing the tower to gain more money for her race and to kind of save it. So I like that aspect because it opens up a possibility or a plot thread of races within a tower being a bit more kind of at risk. And by that I'm talking about this character who has bunny ears like the member on Team Ran, the lighthouse keeper. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If I missed anything out, then let me know down in the comment section below. As after all, it's been a few days between me reading the chapters and me recording this video, so I do apologise about that end, but I can always make a follow-up video if there is a lot of things I've missed and you want to hear my thoughts about. Or drop me a comment down below and we'll have a chat down there. On that though, again, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Like it if you have, subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me, and let me know all of your thoughts, and I'll see you next time. Enjoy your Christmas holidays and your New Year holidays if you're celebrating them, And we'll be back with some more Tower of God shortly. Arigato, matane. Goodbye.